Hey, welcome back to Shop Talk Tuesday. Hi, I'm from I Know a Guy Bicycles. I am Justin, the guy, and welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. If you haven't been here before, this is where cyclists and bike mechanics and bike shop owners alike in a safe space, hopefully it's a safe space for people to check out my opinion piece on what's going on in the industry and what's affecting me or may not be affecting me directly, but affecting the market itself, as well as our cycling community. This is a community-based channel. And yes, a lot of my stuff is based upon my 35 years of experience, where I started off in Parker Bikes back in the late 80s to currently today I have a bike shop in the garage, where you will see here, hopefully momentarily, the actual shop setup and the stuff I do on a daily basis. A local bike shop out of a garage, scaled down from being a big shop to working for big chains to multiple different hats I put on in industry to currently now providing, yes, you guessed it, my community here of helping out as much as I can and being part of the community I am building. So welcome. Thank you for hanging out on Shop Talk Tuesday. A lot of stuff we got to kind of touch upon today. It's been a busy week, which is great because for being October, for a lot of shops or towards the tail end of the season, depending which hemisphere you're in, can be kind of a big sigh and you're just tired because you're just busy. I've been able to keep myself at a nice steady pace. That's been able to get some personal time in there, where I implore a lot of shops to really focus on that during the heat of the season, especially at a high peak season business, because this time of year towards the tail end, you can suffer from quite a bit of burnout, and burnout does not translate well in retail space in general, and definitely doesn't resonate in the bike shop communities due to the fact that you don't want to rough anybody's feathers. You don't want to shortcut any bike repairs that may lead to dissatisfied customers, and therefore, so I'm going to talk about I'm trying to come up with a good topic name of it, and it's kind of basically the community reminder, or something of the nature of, in the sense of, hey, we need to kind of step back, take a look at the bigger picture, and not just be so in the moment on ourselves, either from a cyclist perspective to the actual bike shop and also bike shop employees perspective. So that'll be kind of more of my reflection piece after I do the actual coverage, my opinion piece of the local news, or not local, but the recent news that we've been dealing with and navigating through. So in any case, thank you for hanging out with me. And if these particular Shop Talk Tuesdays are a little bit too long for you to digest, to have on, or what have you, I know everybody's busy. So I'm going to try to make a shorter version, which I made a few of them from last week's episode as well as the week before, kind of like a quick sound bite of more of the 10-15 minute to 20-minute kind of snapshot of what we're talking about and we're discussing to kind of get you and keep you in the know. In addition to when I convert that over into longer content versus the live content, that provides multiple languages to be dubbed in. Therefore, it covers a larger, broader audience, not just for my expansion of my channel, but the expansion of the community itself. Because honestly, cycling in a whole does not have borders. So unless you're competing, country to country, like in the Olympics, but other than that, as the cycling communities really at a whole, a lot of us enjoy riding, and it crosses multiple continents. So thanks for all of you for hanging out and jumping in and listening to live. Also, when you watch this live, it shouldn't be interruption from the advertisement space within YouTube. I do put a couple plugs in on my own to help support my own channel. Therefore, that's why you'll probably see it's paid something on there. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that kind of help drive my business, and the YouTube aspect of it, that's one of the perspectives of that, of my business model as it's conformed and changed over the years. But mainly, I am a bike shop in the garage. I have a handful of tune-ups this week that I got to try to get through. And like a lot of you out there in the bike shop world, in the cycling industry, especially if you're at the ground level retail, you might be still really busy, but I've been seeing some changes locally as well as seeing on the internet of the specials and so forth. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But in any case, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. You know, Shop Talk Tuesday, if it's Tuesday. But if you're watching this on replay, please feel free to put comments below to keep the conversation going. And if you need any particular insights of the topics that we talked about today, please share. And also, if you're watching this on replay, you will be just having a lot more ad disruption. I do apologize for that, but then again, that's how it supports the channels that you watch. So yeah, it is the beast of the beast, right? And here today, I do have Bob, the bike rep. He's hanging out. We're having him hanging. I couldn't get him out the hook. He just is just chilling today. More of a Halloween theme kind of thing going on. I don't know. I might just keep him around as, a second person to talk to, because, I am alone in this space most of the time. I mean, I have a family, obviously. My wife works from home too, so she'll bounce around. And when my daughter's off, you'll see her streaking back and forth or whatever, purely my videos and so forth. But in any case, I do have a questionnaire, and also in the chat, also in the description below, for questions for technical pieces or what have you. It could be industry or whatever. You're more welcome to fill out that form. And if I don't get them today, this week, I will definitely address those in the following episode of next Tuesday. So in any case, thanks for hanging out. This is going to be fun. Unfortunately, I don't have John or another guest with me today. And that's also another thing I want to kind of catch some of your attention out there before I jump into the news piece of this. Is kind of playing in my mind a thought process of maybe adding more guests. Is that something that people are really enjoying? I'll do some more questionnaires, like, do you want to listen to other people in this space, or should that be a different space, either just edited video, that kind of thing, more of a podcast piece with those individual people in the industry, also in cycling. I've done interviews before with others and had people on, and last week is a great example of that. John's a regular of ours that comes onto our channel. I've known him for a long time, and he has a huge wealth of industry knowledge. Therefore, I want to send out a kind of an invitation out to those who are in the industry that want to, or, it is something that some people are not comfortable getting on camera and talking and doing the Zoom type of interview and kind of thing. But if you want to bring a light your particular perspective of your industry insights and so forth, and if you have a shop, you want to kind of promote a little bit, or a product or a company that you work for and want to promote a little bit, that's fine too. I want to get, it's not just the bike mechanics. It's not just the cyclists. It makes a lot of us that makes this community. And it's a huge community. And there's a whole bunch of segments of that particular community, not just specifically this one, but in cycling in general. So therefore, I kind of want to, bring more individuals, characters on, either still in industry or out of the industry, and their perspective, like, holy crap, what's going on? And various other pieces and so forth. But in any case, if you're wanting to be a part of this and be part of the show, if you will, it's kind of weird. I'm a bike mechanic on YouTube, so bear with me. But it's one of those things where if you want to be on for just a part of the segment, you don't have to be on for the full 2 hours, what have you, just a part of it. It's like, hey, we're going to talk about this, and come up with some questions. We can vet those too. Just want to throw that out there. Getting a little bit bigger in the channel. Broke 13,000 this week, so that's pretty big. I mean, I'm part of the 2 or 3% club of YouTube channels that break the 10,000 barrier. So it's one of those things that's been a long haul, but it's not really my main focus, really. It is something. It's a great, don't get me wrong, it's great to get to that level, but I'm being very humble about it. There's other people in my niche or sector or category that have done really, really well, which, one of them's broke 100,000 subs, which does kind of the same. I wouldn't say the same stuff. It's, stuff. But in the cycling perspective and so forth. And there's some other channels that have really gotten huge. And there's a lot of channels that just have a hard time just getting anywhere. And it is a thing. And that's a whole different layer of learning how to do that. So as a bike mechanic, bike shop, and that's why a lot of shops have given up doing YouTube, because it doesn't have that instant gratification kind of thing, or straight to the pocketbook kind of deal. Any case, that being said, it's, it's one of those milestones. It's great. I'm really happy to hit that part. But it's actually the view counts. It's kind of converted over to a view count schedule. So I'm hitting about in 28 days. Bachelors usually, let's say, track about 28 days, averaging around about 100,000 views. So that in itself, that's where the I would say brands are looking for, and that kind of thing, when they want to try to get your product on your show and that kind of thing, which I don't have any problems with that, but I'm kind of selective because I want to just be with my niche. I'm not going to be doing like, I'm going to review this crock pot, unless it's being used for wax chains. That's a different story. Yeah, anyway, we're all diverse here, right? Quick shout out to Joe. Thank you for joining in. Brother from another mother up north. He's up in Canada. He does paddles. Check out his channel. He is raw and gritty, and I love it. It's just one of those channels. It's like, it's just him. And, and it's fun to see a snapshot of the life of, can I call it a Canadian, doing his thing and riding bikes and doing the paddle. One of the first videos I watched of his during the winter. It was last winter, and my goodness, you guys suffer. I mean, I know you look at it for a glass half full, but my goodness, riding in the winter up there is a whole different thing than it is in my neck of the woods. But in any case, thanks, Joe, for hanging out, and appreciate you. And hey, there's a little plug for you. So if you go over his channel, whenever you get a chance, check it out. It's Joe Ohl's channel. He does this is woodworking, he makes paddles, which for kayaking and so forth. I don't know if he does it for paddleboarding, but in any case, you can find that stuff out there anyway. Any case, all right. I think it's time to just jump into as the wheel turns, so do the days of our rides. This is an opinion piece of the latest topics. I'm picking only 3 today because, man, they are big enough to chew, and you can chew on for days. And you can go down to the weeds, but hey, one of these topics we did talk about earlier, that kind of thing. And before I do that, kind of a teaser, and it is kind of the title, the big T word, which there's a lot of T words. But before that, is brought to you by Medem Bikes, where you can find bicycles that won't break the bank. Great brands like Univega and Vin Diesel, but give you a good quality, safe ride to be able to do those extended rides and get into cycling. You'll find a link below with added savings to extend that adventure starting now. So what we're diving into, I forgot to do my timestamp, is the big deadline of 50% tariffs are going to be proposed by, oddly enough, a cycling brand. And that got the whole industry in a little buzz, tiff, losing their, it's just one of those things where you just don't understand. And go ahead and watch last week's, not now, but go ahead and watch last week's episode that I did with John, a little bit of insights there. But I want to kind of touch base on that. It's like you got a 50% estimate tariff going for products going to the United States that are related to steel and aluminum. And this is not going to at least be limited to just bicycles and all those. And there's complicity to that, which is completely insane. But there's a huge community front push back on that. And it's being driven by PeopleForBikes. And if you don't know PeopleForBikes, they've been around for quite a bit of time, and they're advocate for cycling businesses in our industry, and as well as our communities. So they do a lot of great things, and they're actually based here in Colorado, where I'm at. And it's one of those things that we're all in some troublesome times as leading up to this, and this is just kind of adds to the a wood pile of craziness onto the flames. And we don't know really how this is all going to unfold, if it's going to be accepted or not. And it's not just Guardian Bikes that are actually pushing for this. There's also another industry related type backing of this proposal. What will that mean? I mean, in a nutshell, just to recap, is let's say you got a bike that's coming in from a special order, and it's either aluminum or a titanium, or I don't know if titaniums are affected by that, but a steel bike, like a higher end Reynolds bike, and it's coming in from, let's say, England, not necessarily from China directly or what have you, but we have tariffs on all countries right now. And then again, there's always been tariffs there anyway. So that's nothing really new, but what's new is like the insanity of how the prices are fluctuating for everything. That's a compounded added tariff. So it gets stacked. So you have your 5 or 3 or 2% tariff that's from that country. And then also you stack that 50% on top of that particular bike that you're purchasing from a bike brand in England, for example, but that steel came from another country and actually manufactured in Taiwan. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this, and already the complicity of it is basically you'd have to go to 4 years of customs school to just understand how to charge what and what. They're probably going to rely on a lot of AI, and it's going to be kind of a generalization of it, I would assume. But at the end of the day, though, that's going to bring the cost of those particular products going into the United States up a little bit higher. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, boo-hoo, us United States people, they're dealing with this. We did it to ourselves, right? Not all of us wanted this. And that's why a lot of individuals are looking in from the outside in going, what the hell's going on over there? It's like, we don't know. And a lot of us are just trying to navigate it ourselves, and it is changing day to day. And this is just the latest one that, like, okay, this is a today problem. Let's try to address that. And there is a forum in the description below if you want to contribute your voice, your opinion on this as inside the United States. But on the outside, is this going to, it does affect global, because cycling is a global market, it's a global community, and it's huge. It's grown to be huge, which is great. But unfortunately, things like this has catastrophically crippled a lot of functioning businesses to be now dysfunctional. All of a sudden, is either do we ship into the United States? Do we not? Do we just leave them high and dry? Do we just bring in some product? There's all these huge questions within companies inside the United States as well as outside the United States that do sell to us consumer society that loves stuff. And yes, and we're already on a downturn. And I think this has kind of been hitting globally, that the markets are just kind of, things are a little more expensive. It's a little bit harder to get stuff, and the pay is not that great. So, or you're worried about your jobs. All those things are relying on that. And when you have a big cog or a big, let's just say you're a 5-spoke wheel, carbon wheel, and one of the carbon wheels has a crack in it, yeah, it makes it kind of weird. Like, do I need to adjust my brakes? Do I need to like smash my other spoke? Whatever, so put it in the bikes, analogy. We're in some troublesome, questionable times. Well, we're trying, right? And the companies are trying to navigate through this. What does that mean? Let's just start from the top down. What does that mean for like big companies like Trek and Specialized, and even Giant that's trying to sell, or even smaller companies like Fairlight trying to sell products into United States customers, which they've had really good customers for a long period of time. Well, they can't forecast that, and it could change tomorrow. So that's the problem. So for the prices they've been trying to absorb and to stabilize their actually price structure, that's the business. It can't be, that particular S-Works can't be $500 more today, and then in 2 days later it's $500 less. It's just, shoppers can't handle that. That's where it's absorbed by the bike shops a little bit, by the companies that are selling the products. It's kind of absorbed, but it is an added cost, and it does hinder the ability from those big companies or smaller companies to do business in the United States. Even if you're a United States company that makes, for example, bottle cages, and those bottle cages materials are sourced in the United States, still there's a triple effect. It just affects everything. So prices on that produce that raw materials, even in the United States, have gone up. So it may not be a percentage tariff, but it does be directly affected by it. So it is a huge thing. So when you're looking at the 50% increase on top of that, it's pretty painful. And that's just not in the cycling industry. I mean, look around you, like look in your house or your shop, or in, it's like how much steel is sitting around, even in a cubicle at work or in your car, how much steel is there. And that's just a huge thing to navigate as any business. So what that is going to affect, and there's always like, well, what does that mean if it doesn't go into effect, and when is it going to go into effect, and how is it going to cost? And really, those companies don't know until they actually get the bill going, yeah, you got to pay that percentage before you get your product. Or you get, or you're ordering stuff from a company that all of a sudden is deemed has inhumane practices going on, and all of a sudden they're disposing your product at the docks. Like, that's how crazy escalated this can get. So, yeah, holding your hats. I don't think it's going to get anytime soon smoother or more consistent, because the only thing that seems to be consistent is the inconsistency, if that makes any sense. Does it make a great topic to talk about? Sure, information, but I'll really be talking about other stuff other than like, why is your stuff more expensive? And how do you shop? And not all of it is right now. In the United States, we do have some products that still are overstocked on, so we're still able to get some prices and on sell prices and so forth, because our market's slowed. So these companies are just happy to move anything while they still have it in stock, and then they'll deal with the expensive costs of bringing in more product when it comes, because what they're bringing in is going to be more demand, so they may be able to sell it. But that's going to shrink the volume of inventory down that's going to be actually coming in. And again, I'm not an expert at tariffs. I don't think, it takes like years of schools to figure out all this custom stuff and how it affects everybody. But that's what we're seeing as a bike shop frontline retailer going, okay, do I buy all those chains right now and sit on them and take the interest from the bank, or do I just kind of let it roll? Or do I put bikes on my floor if I can get bikes on my floor? I've talked to some dealers. They're like, we go to the website and there's nothing to buy. I mean, there's just nothing coming in right now. Or they're already sold out of their latest flashy thing that came out. So therefore, you're going to drive a demand, but it's kind of like a false demand, like a self-driven. I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of craziness. And it does, really point to this problem. And however you feel about it, left, right, or center, it's going to affect you. That's the thing. It's like, it's not something I can just say why you're doing it and so forth. And there's a lot of chatter, and some of it I had to kind of remove because it got way off the rails. But that being said, it's like people really are passionate about certain perspectives of why are these are being done and what have you. But the bottom line, when you go to the store in 3 to 6 months from now, that stuff might be not there or really expensive, or you're going to have to sub it for something else. That's what we're looking at. That's, you feel comfortable buying anything and that kind of thing. So we're looking at a lot of different kind of tug and pull on this, and it's painful, a lot of parts of it. And that's the bike industry, companies trying to move product in and out of the United States. Then you look at the second layer, you got the wholesalers, which a lot of companies we buy from. And if you don't know, there's several like JBI, QBP. I know it's a lot of acronyms, but these are companies that basically bring in products and they warehouse them in various, they may just have one or may have many warehouses. And Jensen's USA used to be one of those. And now they do direct to consumer. And they were one of the first ones, besides Performance back in the day. But that's a side note. But that second layer, products in there is like, that's where the chains, the tubes and tires, a lot of the bike shops that get consumables or special order pieces and also wheels, and that is part of that. So either they have the inventory already, and if they're smart, they've already got it in before it gets higher, but they have limitations too, because their banks are going, well, it's a downturn in the economy. Why are you asking for more money to bring in more product that you may not sell? So there's a limitation there as well. So you got that level that where a lot of bike shops are purchasing from, which you do as a consumer. Some of those products, like from 365 Cycles or Competitive Cyclists, Universal Cycles, you may have seen those in products when you've actually Googled for a chain or a derailleur or something like that. Well, QBP has a direct-to-consumer platform where basically they're just white labeling it through them. So essentially your stuff is coming from one of the QBP warehouses. So, you know, the website or the bike shop that has the website gets a little commission. They don't do anything to well, they do the transactional layer, but QBP does the actual shipping and direct. So it doesn't go to the bike shop, then go to you. It just kind of goes direct to the consumer. So that was something that's been in play in the last 10 years or so. So therefore, it is going to affect you because those prices are going to sway, or availability is going to be another big piece. I think they're pretty good, hopefully, on chains and tubes, tires, cables and housing, all that stuff, because I'm able to get some of that still currently on sale or at least discounted price. But who knows, within 6 months to a year from now, this disruption keeps going up and those costs are still being affected. Those either two things, like you're not going to either be able, one, find it, or second, is going to be double or triple the price. Okay, on a cable, I mean, you can probably eat that. When you're looking at a $3 cable versus a $12 cable. But when you're looking at, I need to replace a rear derailleur that used to be $100, now it's $400. That's going to be pretty painful to swallow. And that's kind of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. That's, you know, it's scaled and it's not sustainable is the big thing too. So there needs to be adjustments, and hopefully we can smooth it out as the industry leaders can help smooth that out. So when it comes to us bike shop people trying to take care of our local community, doing tune-ups and repairs and all those things, is not too painful for all of us here. But in any case, that is the latest on it. And yes, I think to 21st of October was the deadline of getting in the petition. I believe that's what it's called. And it's also in the description below. I implore you to at least check it out. If it's something that you want to do, great. If not, understandable. We're all, I mean, I think we all have to need to do something. It does, yeah, you pick your hill that you want to die on. But it's really kind of pushed us out of our comfort zone, including myself. And really, I mean, God, I don't want to talk about these particular topics, but I feel like they need to be at least mentioned and at least a bit of perspective, because they are affecting and influencing every little business some way or somehow. In any case, well, that is on a crazy bit of us and tariffs. But I didn't want to rely on that too much. I mean, I already probably spoke way too much on it already, and it probably went in a couple circles. I'm sorry. I don't go by a script. I do go bullet points, but I don't go by a script. So you're subjected to that rambling from a bike mechanic. And hopefully you get some insights on this. And if you feel like you know your perspective is a little bit different, what have you, I do implore you, please put it in the chat or the comments below. But try to be a little, you know, not so crazy. Because my delete button is getting worn out. In any case, all right, let's do a shout out here real quick for those. Oh, we got some people jumping in. Got some local faves of our community. Yeah, Joe again at the top there. Murray GD13. From what I read from the affected carbon fiber frames, looks like they will be affected aluminum steel frames. I think it's just steel and aluminum, but I don't know if there's a carbon factor that I don't have time to go read the 233, 232 prop or whatever it is for the custom piece and how details was, you know, that's kind of, but if it's carbon, that's another detrimental blow. But, and there's carbon fiber in a lot of stuff. So that's kind of crazy. Oh, Randy, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you for sharing too. James passed some of it on to me and other dealers. As in tariffs go, yes, and I think even JBI and some other companies have already kind of included that 10 to 15 a while back, including Trek and Specialized. So yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't say they jumped the gun, but they kind of tried to get ahead of it for their financial reasons. And some of the smaller companies like Jameis and Fuji and some others are probably just kind of holding back and like, see what really happens. And they're probably getting the real bill now going, pay up. And you're like, damn it. Then we have to like, not retroactive pricing, but going forward, they have to have that price increasing. And hopefully your community and where you're selling your bikes and what you have in stock is not tremendously affected by it. And hopefully I've seen some shops eat that and keep the MSRP, the retail of it, the same. But there's already no margin on bikes that support what all goes into buying it, getting it built, selling it, and servicing it later. Platform of it, when you're looking at 30 points, that does not cover all those levels of expenses. Any case, I mean, it does when you sell like a $3,000 bike, of course. I mean, but when you're looking at your bread and butter bikes, that's why a lot of bike manufacturers don't want to do bread and butter bikes, because you don't see very much profit in it. It's like too much volume. They want to do less is more kind of thing. But anyways, Jared, thank you for joining in. Let's see here. Most people were priced out of newer bikes. I do agree with that. Well before tariffs. I do agree with that. That's why Walmart bikes channels are doing so well. Actually, Jared, Walmart bikes and Target bikes and bikes at Dick's Sporting Goods, as well as Sports Academy and various other outlets of those lower income bikes, have been pretty much the 80% of the market since the 90s. So what Trek and Specialized and Pawn Holdings and all them are fighting over that 10 to 20% market. I mean, it's big. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of like, if you want to put an analogy, look at the beer industry. The most dominant factor of beer being sold is Budweiser, but everybody's fighting over that little micro percentage. It's the same thing, and maybe not as drastic as it is in the beer world, but it is in the cycling world. So, I mean, and they've upped their game, which is kind of crazy, because you look at the Ozark bikes, which are not too bad. Yes, it could be professionally assembled a little better, but not out of the box. If you knew what you're doing and tuned it up and got it going, not bad for the price, quite honestly. And we were always, as the bike industry, been kind of worried about that. Well, me and Parker Bikes days, because that was our price point. We were a lower end bike shop. We were a family community bike shop, which that does affect that. But now that envelope has been pushed so much higher now. Any case. But yeah, great point. Thank you for bringing that up, Jared. And it's like, it even pushes more people into that Walmart and Target space to get a bike, because who in their right mind is going to buy a $600 or $700 kids bike when they know they're going to grow out of it within a week? Like my daughter, like 20-inch, next week is 24-inch wheel. Boom. Like, well, for me, I refurbish the used one, so I just go find a nice used one that holds up well, and she still gets that nicer end bike, which is very similar to the bikes that are being produced today, but 10x the price. So there's that whole used new thing going on for a long time. That's what established my business in the first place. In any case, thank you for bringing that up. Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for chiming in. Oh, yeah, you're down in Bubba, Texas. Yep. Starting to cool down there a little nicer riding weather for you, I'm sure. Oh, that's right. You do mostly 70s and 80s stuff as a hobby. Yeah. When you're looking at the used stuff like myself, tariffs don't really affect it unless you need stuff to fix it up. Tubes, tires, cables, housing, all the stuff I just mentioned for sure. The bike guy mobile, the other guy. Thank you for joining in. Appreciate it. I pay for cash for everything. I stop over time in my game. Nice. Yeah, you're one of the rare oddities. I mean, you're small enough. I think you're a mobile. So if you're able to get you in a position that you're not owing the bank any money or credit card interest or any of that, you're ahead of it. And that's where a lot of shops that should be their main goal, is to own their inventory. But sometimes it doesn't really happen. Being in a shop with my parents, we never really fully owned our inventory. It was like this rotating door of brands and cycles and all that. Very stressful, very painful, and eventually collapsed. So it's like a bike Ponzi scheme that blew up. But anyway, not to say, I don't want to go into details of that, but it's to the past. But learnings from other bike shops that I've worked with and for and be a part of, owning inventory, or a good portion of it, is a very big, well, first challenge, but it's definitely a benefit for you in the long haul, for sure. And William, wages. How do you support all those wages, right? All right. Oh, I got too far. Man, you guys are really can't keep up. It's great. It's great. Thanks you guys for chiming in. Appreciate it. The interaction of this is totally awesome. And you're interacting with each other. That's even better. Awesome. I'm gonna, if this gets big enough, I'll have to get little stars or something so I can at least pay attention. All right. All righty. Cool. So shout out to those who just chimed in and pushed in. Let's go into our next segment. And before that, I need a sip of coffee. So here you go. Shop on Amazon. I do have a Amazon store, like the latest pick, basically, of products that are on sale, that kind of thing, and various other parts and tools and so forth that I suggest using within those particular categories. Check that out. Go through, and even if you don't buy the product that I suggest and you find something else that fits your needs better, or your grocery list, or whatever you end up buying, I get a little kick. So that's a good opportunity for you to get something, and I get something that helps support me doing what I'm doing. Oh, wow, like a weird mirror thing. Anyway, guys, going into our next topic. Private equity acquires Whyte bikes. This is a European cycle piece. And let me just pull up. It is in the bicycle retailer brain, as we call it here. There's other news agencies across the pond that reported on this too. And I really don't know this brand all too much. It's a smaller brand in the UK, and they are primarily a mountain bike company. And the reason why I bring this up is it's interesting, another investment company buying another bike line, which it's been going on for the last 3 decades. And they are the latest one, 100% purchased by this investment company. But this company has been around for 25 years, really doubling down on mountain bikes, mountain e-bikes, and some gravel, city stuff. They've gotten some pretty good steam in the European market, mainly UK. And why I was bringing it up is there's 2 that are really huge in the States that was similar, not necessarily the bikes themselves, but acquisition by investment companies. Well, the more recent one was Kona bikes, which they do ship international. Whyte doesn't look like they ship international yet, or if they do, it's very limited. They're hoping to expand upon it when you read the article, that kind of thing. But Kona was bought by an investment company, and this has been a very common theme with, I would say, I don't know if I can pigeonhole it to United States investment companies or not, but they basically bought the company and drove it into the ground. And all of a sudden, the original owners of Kona, bought back the company and now running Kona again and trying to build up the brand and trying to recover from the colossal mistakes that this investment company did. Revel was another one, which is similar to this one, a smaller niche, full suspension mountain bike, gravel bike company here in Colorado. Same thing. investment company, drove it into the ground, and now they've gone back to the original owners, and now they're reformatting their platform of not stocking inventory in the United States, mainly direct to consumer from, I think, Taiwan, their partners or their manufacturer in Taiwan. And this is, again, another scenario where you have a bike company being purchased. Well, this is, again, I mentioned this is nothing new, but the reason why I'm looking at this one in the article, hopefully there's a win here for the brand. They've kept the whole staffing. They're not, well, not yet anyway. Everything is as business as usual. There's a big money insurgent for this particular bike company to thrive. Well, you've seen a lot of this, and a lot of brands that you've seen already. We're going to go back to Canada, Santa Cruz, Schwinn, Mongoose, GT. Those are all been bought by the Pon, or filtered, eventually got into Pon Holdings, Pon Bike. And they're doing, they bought so many of these companies, and it's within the last 15 years, 20 years that they've gotten into this realm. And this is another extension, like bike companies are struggling, and especially smaller ones, and they have to sustain. Some of these are a good win-win, like hopefully this is in that category. It's like, oh, we have an opportunity to expand our markets and so forth by this, or they're desperate and the name basically gets bought, where that's where Pon Holding is at on theirs. One of the brands they carry is Schwinn. A lot of people still know Schwinn, and Schwinn is still being produced and put into either Walmart, Target of today. That variation of Schwinn has been bought and sold for at least 4 or 5 times since the original Schwinn family owning it. So therefore, you got a lot of different things going on with that. I'm just saying, in my opinion piece, like, buyer beware, cautionary tale for Whyte. They know where they're getting into, because all these things have been in the news cycles of recently. They understand, they should understand, hopefully understand that these things may or may not work out, or maybe the owners are like, we're done. Case in point, like KHS is shutting down because the family is done running it. So it's all those kinds of things you got to think about. And branding, I mean, do you feel, will they be comfortable buying that bike, not knowing they might be train wrecked in 6 months to a year? And where's that warranties on those and all that kind of, and when you're talking about suspension bikes, there's a lot of parts and warranties and all those things to it. That's why I'm kind of bringing this up. Yeah, it's not a United States brand. I'm in the United States, but like I said before, this is a global industry. And there's probably some strong followers in other countries other than the UK that love this product, and they hope to see it succeed. I wish the best for them, for sure. I don't want to see them train wreck. Another little side note, local is, and you probably have heard of them, called the Pros Closet. And the Pros Closet had a big influx of money back around COVID 2019 and 20. And they were able to do a lot of marketing and so forth. They were really trying to go global. I mean, they were really pushing the Pros Closet to go global. And that was a lot of it. And a lot of the money went into the big, pretty huge warehouse and that kind of thing, which was really nice when I was there. And then all of a sudden, everything just hit hard for them and went under. They did totally wiped out, cards out, bankruptcy and everything. But the name is still up for sale. There's an investment company and 2 or 3 of the original, or one of the, they're not the original owners of Pros Closet, but they work for them, I believe. And now they're up and running again in North Denver. So it's a different spot with another warehouse and doing the thing and trying to do all the good things, or the ones that worked well for the Pros Closet, because it got a little too big and went too abroad. Therefore, there's the other cautionary tale for Whyte. It's like, yeah, now you got this big bag of money. You're going to be you have to really research it where you put it, because before you know it, you're not going to have enough for return and a company that owns you now, the bank or investment company, may turn and go, oh, we got to cut losses and sell the pawn or whoever, or let the brand die. So there's been a few of those too. And that's just, I mean, we were having these problems and craziness going on prior to what's been going on this year, just to say. So this does not help anything going through any other channels. And kudos for an investment company. There must be some value and some great opportunity for this brand for them to take this kind of investment jump in these uncertain times. And it's not, I mean, you know, we're having some craziness here in the States, but it's not just the United States. Like I said, the cycling community is global, and that's a global effect around all markets. I mean, I don't know if there's any one market that's like, hey, we're doing great. You guys just go, you know, you guys go jump off a bridge. We're doing great. You know, I don't think everybody's doing great. And cycling industry hasn't been doing great for a while. So yeah, that is something. I want to bring that to light because there's more to that. Just you know, the company being bought by an investment company, and hopefully that investment company, I'm not really that familiar with that. I think it's a Dutch investment company, and if it's Dutch, maybe it's a subsidiary of Pawn, same country. All opinion piece, speculation on that piece. I don't see the Montreal, nor do I care to, because hey, you know, but you know, if you're in a different country and you do carry the or you have seen Whyte in your neighborhood for mountain bikes and so forth, I haven't seen them in my neck of the woods, so that was kind of a new one for me. I'm like, and then again, some of these news stories that come out of the European cycle market. A lot of brands that we're not really familiar with the front lines in the United States. But then again, there's a lot of brands that don't get shipped into the United States because they are hitting or focusing on other markets. For example, Merida bikes are known internationally as a bike line, independent, kind of like Giant, but they're not sold in the United States as a brand because they're the makers of Specialized. So not to say that Merida and Specialized are the same bikes, probably not, but it's the same kind of, I don't know, it's like chessboard pieces, if you will. In any case, but I just want to bring that to light, kind of just give us some headlights there, and hopefully you'll see that brand excel and do well, and that maybe give a good copy footprint or playbook. That's what I'm looking for, a playbook for these investment companies to make a brand better and not drive them into the ground like Kona, Rival, and various other brands over the years. I can only hope. In any case. Back to the chat. Oh boy, we got some conversations here. All righty, let's see. I have to scroll up in my chat here. You guys are doing a lot of wonderful jibber jabber. It's great. Heavy metal cycles. Oh, you drink Budweiser? I'm sorry. Just kidding. In my neck of the woods, Loveland, Colorado is right next to Fort Collins, Colorado, which is known for New Belgium brewery. I don't drink beer. I have a reaction to it, whatever. It don't matter. But there's like almost a microbrewery on every corner in Fort Collins. I mean, there's a ton of them from various different, very small, no names to Odell's, a few others that are pretty big. And then it just trickles down the Front Range of Colorado. So it goes all the way down through Denver to Colorado Springs. So it's kind of like your Napa Valley Front Range of micro beers. And they have a huge beer thing tasting down in Denver once a year, I believe, still, that kind of thing. But then again, that is like the 3%, 5% market of the industry where we were talking about before, like the cycling versus, bike shops versus Walmart and Target and various others. That's where they kind of really bleed out. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to talk about beer. I had to talk about beer. I'm in the state of beer, even though I don't drink that beer or beer. Yeah. Well, Rendo, thank you for chiming in. Yeah, I mean, the comment is Giant makes carbon bikes, carbon push bikes for toddlers. I saw Specialized too, and I think Trek had one. It's when you see something like that and you look at the price of it, you're like instantly going, "It's dumb." But hey, I mean, if you have the money and you just buy yourself and your family all S-Works, and you got the little one, well, give them a little S-Works toddler kick bike too. I don't know. They've had to sold them because they want to keep making them, I would think. Yeah, William, that's a good point there. He's like, minimum wage should be at $69 an hour or $440,000 a year in our current economy. You're talking about our economy. Yeah, it is gone. I mean, we had the expenses of housing market gone. I mean, even our own home here, we wouldn't be able to afford it today when it's at market value. And we've had it for about 10 years. So yeah, there's, growth, of course, and you do want growth, but my goodness, it's like, it's just insane. And that's just the housing market piece of it. So when you're looking at bike shops and how they navigate their staff and all those things, it's very, very challenging, for sure. And when you try, and it's have been a problem for a long time, trying to get livable wages for bike shop people. And we'll talk about that here in a moment in the community piece. I'm going to just basically lay on you guys. But anyway, my perspective on it. I got a fly in here again. I don't know how I have a baby fly in my shop in fall. I don't know how these things just prop up. Anyways. So yeah, a lot of disruption going on there. Yeah, Jared talking about GT. Yeah, GT got cut. All right, Scott, thank you for joining in. Hey, by the way, your bike is ready, like the one you broke the bolt on. Yeah, got that, and your brake pad's all set. So this is your warning. This is your shout out. Your bike is ready. Yeah, e-bikes for kids. No, those little boogers need to work out. Although, if you think about it, if you're a very strong rider like you are, Scott, and you want somebody to keep up with you and like hang, yeah, maybe those little guys need a little bit of extra humph to keep going and less complaining. Believe me, having a 9-year-old and complaining is like chalk on a chalk, nails on a chalkboard. Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, but they are pricey, which really, I mean, not to say they're going to be expensive because they're basically a miniature version, but in any case. All right, let's see here. Okay, I got a third topic I need to hit upon. This was interesting. It's kind of an interesting reactionary topic within an industry. I just said that. I'm repeating myself. Sorry. Before we jump into that, though,
a whole bunch of bike stuff, and you just need to get rid of it. No longer needs to be in your garage, needs to be in somebody else's garage, and actually, hey, maybe being used. Go to bikeflights.com. You can actually open an account yourself or just put in a one-time usage, put in the destination, so forth, the bike size, dimensions, and weight. Don't forget the weight. And add that insurance, because you'll definitely want to make sure that insurance is covered if something happens in that UPS or FedEx or whatever transfer going to that next destination. You want to be protected. Then you just have to drop it off at your local UPS store and be able to get it on its way. And again, I have shipped bikes, parts, wheels, and frames for decades now. And Bike Flights is sure enough one of the best directions to go.
All righty. So this latest topic is very interesting. I'm going to pop up the actual article here. So we reported on a white label company basically going under, like shutting doors, whole stop, everybody's laid off, the equipment's auctioned off immediately, letter to all their vendors, or you're done. We're done. We're not going to take care of you anymore. What this is CSS Composites. If you don't know, made a lot of carbon rims, or an OEM, and they had their own house brand, which was the Forge Bond, but they sold to various companies, let's see, there was a few of them, like one was Rebel Bikes, Evil, Chris King is down here, that's right, and various others, and who knows who the laundry list is, because even including Trek over the time. And it doesn't mean these particular companies were actually using their carbon when this went down, but over the years they had plenty of different, like Trek and Bontrager branded, used them over the period of time. And there's a few that still were using these rims in their regular production runs for either bikes or also aftermarket branded, if you're Bontrager wheel set and so forth, and that kind of thing, or Chris King, which they have their hub, but they're actually laced in these carbon rims and so forth. So, this is a huge issue relating to consumer comfort. Let's put it that way, because all of a sudden those rims no longer have a warranty because the company went under. So even though it carried over to all these different companies that they were basically selling these part of the product of they were selling, or as part of the bike or what have you, they were not going to get credit if there was any warranties. There's a pretty, I wouldn't say huge level of warranty on carbon, but it is a big thing because first, you're paying a lot of money for those. And second, they do a lot of things to carbon. Eventually, you can, it's supposed to last for a very long time, but things happen, and either the design of the rim or what have you, those particular crash replacement pieces, a lot of people have those, were not being taken care of. But what was very interesting, that other brands are rallying to help the customers that bought brands or bought the brand through them. So Rebel stepped up and said, "Oh, we'll take care of the warranties on that part," where I saw. And another one was really interesting, besides Rebel Bikes, was Reynolds. Reynolds, like, who now? Reynolds, and it's not the company that makes tubing, Reynolds Tubing. As we've had conversations with Mr. Bradley on my show, is Reynolds is split off into two. You got the Reynolds steel tubing being built in England, and then you have the Reynolds, which makes like the carbon wheels and the other Reynolds bits, Reynolds forks, and all those. That's a separate company, where that company is the one that's going to be picking up the slack and taking care of warranties. And, for me, it's like, that's a great gesture of giving, customer support for these particular products. And quite honestly, I don't know how long the crash replacement is on a lot of these products, because I never really, I don't sell them, so I'm not really that familiar with the newer ones of. Last time I've been in a shop that had crash replacements was like 10 years ago. So I'm not that familiar in the know what's currently happening with that. Or how long the timeline is. That's what I'm really going to say, is like, are the crash replacement covered for 5 years or 10 years? Or I'm not sure, probably is not 10 years, but they're usually, the warranty on wheels, if I remember correctly, is 2 years. So if you're in a shop and it's different now, correct me in the comments or the chat. But it's usually 2 years. So it's like a 2 years phase out. So with these particular wheels that these companies are going to have to try to take care of the customers on, are at least 2 years older to current, the product has been released. And it's most likely on maybe some of this year's batch of 2026 product coming out, but most likely is majority of it was 2025, because this, company completely belling up like this probably showed some hardships before they went down. And the companies, either, Trek or others, may have already seen that, or weren't able to keep up with the demand, probably let them go and found or sourced a different carbon rim white labeling company. Therefore, but I feel bad because, this company, they're out of Utah, I believe, and it's all of a sudden you got people unemployed. And then it's a huge disruption of hiring stuff, which, however you feel about it. And it's already a hard market anyway, because you can pick up a carbon wheel set that doesn't look too terrible for like $300 or $400. You got to kind of question on quality on that, but a lot of the times it's actually not too bad, but you would definitely want to vet that first. But you're probably not going to get the warranties like you were going to get from the CSS composite, which is be white labeled through these big manufacturers. Chris Keen's a big name. Rival is still a big name in the United States. And also Trek and Bontrager that used them over the years were pretty big. Well, why am I bringing this up? And we saw some of the crash and burn of the actual company and so forth. And this is kind of reactionary and a reactionary tale. And it's kind of interesting. Number one, if they were using these products within their product line, like Revel with their wheels and so forth, yeah, you probably want to really kind of take care of those customers regardless. Like, okay, we'll get you another wheel set or whatever. And hopefully it's far and few in between of issues that you would have. But companies like the Reynolds, they may or may not had some part of, not part of it, but part of, using some of their products and what have you, may be affected by it. But for them to step in, it's possible, it's twofold. It's one, they're helping out the community of those cyclists and saying, hey, we have a product. If yours is bad, we'll see what we can do to help you out and get you on one of our products. So it's also a marketing opportunity to be the good guy in the story, to help out, versus just like, oh, that's great, I hope they crash and burn. Cycling industry used to be cutthroat. It shouldn't be now by any means, because it's hard enough and it's been challenging for a lot of them for a long time. But I'm not saying there's still some competitiveness between brands, and there's always will be to some level. But this is really kind of a nice seeing gesture in a sense of not just taking care of those customers, but also taking care of those, the brands and so forth. So you don't feel like you're so out, right? Will the local individual that bought a set of wheels even know until they have a problem? So that's where the educational layer needs to be amongst all bike shops, including myself. Like, oh, it'd be able to identify that rim was built by this company and they're no longer taking care of the warranty. In other words, you have options here. At least you can give that customer options to go around, versus, well, I'm sorry, you spent $1,000 on the bike or that wheel set. And that doesn't give you a vote of confidence. So especially when you're catering to the high-end market. So definitely the high-end market really needs to take care of itself, because if you alienate those customers to buy in that high-end market and they don't feel like they're going to get the support that was advertised to them when buying such huge dollar amounts, is going to be very painful. So I'd love to see a lot more of this cross-industry coverage when something happens and takes care of the customers, because it's all in a benefit to push other brands forward and keep them relevant, versus like, oh, well, it does look bad if even though you had nothing to do with them going under, like Revel bikes, and they're like, all of a sudden a good portion of your wheels that are carbon, now you can't warranty, you get money back, and you can't take that to the customer. Like, nope, we're not going to, sorry, that they'll never buy a bike from you again. So it's one of those weird things where you just, it's really good to see, but hopefully it's just not on the high end. Hopefully on these mid-range companies and so forth can kind of, because we're going to have some loss. There's going to be, it's not nutrition. It's like, we are an economical portion right now where there's some companies that may have been teetering and they're going to fall off the cliff real quick, possibly like this scenario here, or they were okay, but going through what we're going to be going through and able to function as a normal business, even if it's in the United States or out of the United States, or you're selling in the United States, or it's just a product. I don't know. It's like, it's going to affect. And if they can't find abilities to navigate around that as big companies for providing products, it's going to drive a lot of businesses out of business. And unfortunately, nobody's not safe with this, or protected, or have enough purse to keep it going. Any case, yeah. So anyway, there we're at on that particular one. Oh, so yeah, it's like one of those things I'd wish to see more of, and I'm kind of glad to see the companies, brands that I recognize that are taking up the slack on this and taking care of the customer at the end of the day. And that's what it matters for a lot of these companies to hold on to and to go forward, because we're going to need a lot more love than it is. Then we're going to just need so much more. All right. What we got going on in the chat here? Precision e-bike. Hey, Josh, thanks for chiming in. All right. Showing the cost there of stuff. Talking about e-bikes, yep, and labors and all that stuff. So yeah, Josh in my neck of the woods, or Josh has Precision e-bikes in my neck of the woods, is one of the our go-to for pretty much a lot of e-bikes. A lot of bike shops that do sell e-bikes send him service his direction to. And another shop that I recently talked to, Go Guava in Pennsylvania, I think it was. They're similar scenario. They were started out as a traditional bike shop, and now in the last year and a half converted into more e-bike service and scooter service kind of thing. So it's here, and it needs service, and it's a subsect niche of our cycling community. So and that, I love having them here. It's a must needed thing, and hopefully you in your neck of the woods have that go-to, because there's a lot of product that's been pushed into a lot of countries, and not just us, that either going to need some help. And not everybody knows how to work on e-bikes or test motors or test batteries and all that, or even have the equipment to do it. So you're going to need those particular individuals and training and safety. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, is safety. So to make sure you're on a safe, good bike out there. So those particular companies or shops are going to help you navigate, and hopefully you didn't purchase something that can catch your house on fire. So anyway, yeah, go Grava. That's it. Oh yeah, he also has a YouTube channel. Pretty good cat, very insightful. Been in and out of the industry as well quite a bit, and also has I think military background and all sorts of other stuff. So very, very good individual, very informational, pretty straight shooter too. It's not left, right, or more just neutral, like I try to be, especially here. And really good insights and so forth. Especially a great story about an individual opening a store a year and a half ago when you shouldn't have been opening a bike shop, and somehow finding successes to keep going forward, and that kind of thing. That's just fantastic for him, that kind of thing. So ending on wheels, I want to share with you a company that I bought a set of wheels from for a repair. They do custom build wheels. I like the traditional style, but this gives me an opportunity to maybe try to take care of. I got 2 flies in here. Got to kill some flies. Just a second.
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is it's really hard to find good wheel sets that are rim brake for road and also for mountain. So there alludes, he does carbon as well, and they're hand built. A lot of them are hand built. So you get that traditional hand built quality like we did back in the 90s. So it's one of those things. So it's a good guy, good company. I am still trying to kill this fly. In any case, there you are. See a mechanic go completely insane. All righty. That pretty much concludes the news opinion piece of this. We're going to talk about our cycling culture. Culture. Yeah, you know culture. You have a little bit of culture. And I don't know if I want to do this here or do I want to stand in. I feel better standing and talking, that kind of thing. So I should have done that one there, but let's just move you over real quick.
Bicycles, hanging with a guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy in the garage. I do have a garage shop, and you see most of these tools behind me. I want to do a shout out to Jensen's USA, which you'll find a link below if you're looking for some good pricing and as well tools to fit or to expand your actual shop at home.
Not nearly long enough for me to, but yeah, give me a second. You'll have to do a setup real quick. It's one of those things that I really want to chime in on this and still feel more presenting when I'm standing versus, some people think very well when they're sitting. Some people think really well when they're laying down. I'm more of a pacer. So being a pacer, standing is usually the best thing for me. I need to switch this over to my phone so it doesn't look so weird. All right. Yeah, sorry for the slow down on this guy here. All right. So what we'll need to do, I have to mute my. All right. Hopefully you can still hear me without an echo. All right. Yeah. So this is one of those scenarios that I feel a little bit better on like standing in front of my shop because, if you just watch this too much and you're like, is he actually in his shop anymore? Did he took off and flew off to Terra del Fuego, as my dad would say, and, whatever. That's the way I can answer questions. Any case. All right. Sorry, hydration is key in Colorado. So that was removed. Okay, got it. All righty. So here is my crazy song and dance. All right, Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for chiming in. Now I'll learn how to build wheels. I mean, wheel building is something that is an art form. Like a lot of stuff that we do is an art form in cycling. And this really is a great segue into, I want to get you closer so I don't feel so far away. I don't want to be too far away. In any case, so a guy working on a bike, been working on bikes for 35 plus years. And of course, you find yourself thinking about bikes, right? Sleeping in your dreams. I'm going to need more light. Oh, sorry. All those good things. And there we go. Is that better? Yeah. So, been in the industry for 35 years. And this is where I'm trying to like get a name for this. Hopefully you guys can hear me and see me okay. So give me a thumbs up or chime in the chat if you can. So anyway, yeah, going back to heavy metal cycles, talking about wheel building, it's a whole thing. Therefore, I mean, I enjoy doing it, but it is time consuming, and you got to be set up to do it too. I mean, back in the 90s, we'd have like a room. A lot of shops would have a room with like all these spokes and rims and stuff and all that. It's so not financially viable for a lot of shops to do that, and that's been the course of the last 25 years. So therefore, a little history on that. Now you have companies that do wheel building. A lot of them are from like QBP, they'll have pre-manufactured wheel building kind of there, and you can get some custom stuff done. But Bicycle Wear Warehouse, his journey, the guy that runs that, has been in the wheel building for a long time, and the quality and how he does the wheel building, like little subtle attention to detail when you're building a wheel, like the spoke, the valve hole, you look through it and you see the logo of the hub, things like that, and the crossing and the prepping of the spokes, all those things. That's what he's done and does with his wheels, which we used to do back in the 90s to make really strong set of wheels. So in any case, and also the prices are not horrible. I mean, they're not like astronomical. So it's a good price wheel set that has still accommodate to rim brake wheels and so forth. So you can still have the opportunity to upgrade or replace your wheel set on a bike that, might be hard, and that if you're worried about used, because you can be, used, you take a risk. So therefore you can buy a new wheel set, like the one I was featured in the little promo there. That individual rides a lot. I mean, a lot. And you're talking about tens of thousands of miles, and he's wore out. I mean, he almost wore out his bike. I mean, let's put it that way. Like, and when I did that repair, it was like majority of the drivetrain was replaced because it was just worn out. So when it came to the wheels, I'm like, he wanted something rock solid that's going to hold up and last a long time. So hopefully this will last for him a long time. But looking at the quality of them when I got him in, I'm like, oh, this is spot on. This is some good stuff. But in any case, if you have the time, get into it and learn how to do it. It's fun. But there's companies out there that do a really good job of doing that, and that's where a lot of the cycling industry is broken up to multiple layer of niches. Bike fitting is no longer in a lot of shops anymore. That's its own little entity. Like myself, I do older school repairs, that kind of thing, or YouTube channel. Then you have Joshua Precision E-Bikes, does e-bike stuff. He's, geared for that. Then it's like back in the day you had your tri shops and you had your full-blown mountain bike shops and you had your roadie shops. Well, that's even broken down even more so. So, and if your community, depending on how big your community is, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about what keeps me up at night. That should be a whole section right there. What keeps me up at night? This came up with the name of it. I'm going to write down the timestamp so I can reference this. I lost my pen. What keeps Justin up at night? A guy that's been in the industry for 35 years, and he should not be stressing about, or maybe that's why I stress about everything. What keeps me up at night? Okay, this is a community shout out. it sounded a lot better in my head, so bear with me. This is not scripted. This is some structured thoughts from somebody that's been in the cycling industry for over 35 years and how it's impacted my life and how it should have and reflective impacted yours in some way or another. And you need to have a reflection point. We're at a really, really intense reflection point of like, how did I get here? Why am I doing this? Because there's a lot of challenges that are ahead of us and are already behind us, and then we're still have a lot more to go forward. And granted, a lot of us may not be up for the challenges. Some of us have already done and we're checked out. Some of us are really up for the challenges. Some of us are going, why am I having these challenges? And the challenges I'm talking about are going to be across the board. And what this is really driven from is a lot of the comments from the channel. And I'm not going to be hearing like, oh, cry me a river. People shouldn't be saying bad things. Because I want to keep this in a perspective. And we have this, regardless if you have a YouTube channel and you get the comments below and you get all mad about those, or your Google review, you got some crazy ones in there from your shop, or anything. Why does it hurt so bad is because you're really passionate about what you got into cycling. And it stems for a lot of years for a lot of people. You may have only been working in a shop for 6 months, but you've been riding a bike since you're a little kid. That got you into working in a bike shop at some point, or you're part of that cycling community. So we're going to try to cover this whole nutshell thought process of what keeps me up at night is my journey. And we're not going to just talk about me. We're going to talk about the influences of your journey and how the perspective of the journeys are related to people that work in bike shops and people who just ride. Okay, let's think about this. Let's break it down. Okay, back in the day, y'all learned how to ride a bike. My journey, I was in the first or second grade, and that's when I learned how to ride a bike. And I had one of those nut ripper shifter Lemmy bikes from the Schwinn style, that had like the shifter and you crash and you definitely racked yourself. Yeah, that's what I learned on, and on a dirt road for all places on top of that. So, and even to top it all off, it was my first stepfather, which was a complete, where's my bell? Which was a complete break. Very short, very mean-ish, more like tough it up buttercup. But on the other hand, the guy was in his 20s trying to take care of some other kids thing. So any case, but I still learned how to ride a bike. And what that bike did, as it does for a lot of us to learn how to bike and ride a bike, is freedom. You got space, you got distance, you can go places, you did things, you got in trouble, you got out of trouble, bike breaks down, you learn how to fix it, you swap out parts, you do all these different things. That's the journey of a lot of us. And pretty much all of us in the cycling community has had some experience, had to have some experiences learning how to ride a bike. Bikes are just not something like walking. Like everybody learns how to walk. Well, for most people. But in any case, cycling is a sense of freedom, right? That's where it started for a lot of people. And even today, it's still a sense of freedom for people that can't walk. They have like the hand bikes or hand cycles, or those have balance issues. They have the three-wheel bikes, or whatever the case may be. It's a sense of freedom, and still yet today, it doesn't matter what kind of age range on this. And this is what I got my thought in my head when reading some of these comments about, tariffs this, or the bike shop I walked into are just complete pricks and, what have you, and that kind of thing. Yes, and my last piece was based upon, saving the shop. And there is, granted, we're all people, right? We're part of the species, and a lot of us are jerks. And not a lot, but there is a fair amount percentage there. And that does trickle into the cycling community. Both sides, people. Customers can be kind of squirrely, and bike shop owners can be just as squirrely as well. It takes all of us, right? And granted, does it make it right? I'm not here to say it's right or wrong or otherwise or any particular individual situation you've been in if you had a bad experience with a bike shop. But I want you to keep in mind, if you're on the other side of the coin and you're trying to figure out why are they such a jerk, or why is that bike shop so mean, or whatever the case may be, you may not need to go in there. And I'm not telling you to go into that shop that have elitism or treat you like whatever and what have you, and they fit some other, whatever category. But what it comes down to, though, is if you're a shop owner, and especially in challenging times like this, or if you're a cyclist, same thing, challenging times like this, trying to find the right bike, right part, labor rates are out of the roof, all those kinds of things, is basically step out of that box for a moment and try to reflect, like for a bike shop's mechanic's perspective, that individual walking into your store, we'll start there, comes in, wants to get a part or a bike or whatever they may need. Just getting them as a business owner, trying to get them in your store is challenging enough. So they're there. The owners are yelling at you going, you treat every one of them like your grandma, like they're gold, like they're the #1 center of the universe. Well, they should be. And a lot of shops, I do have to say, still do not follow that trend in our current state of the state. Don't know why, but that's how they are. And that's fine. They can do that as long as they can still pay the rent. But for the rest of us, that pretty much all bike shops are on month to month right now. I mean, we're just trying to let's hope we get to go through the next month. And we want to take care of those individuals. But other than trying to make a dollar on the individual walking in the door, let's put it this way. What are we trying to help them with their experience, their cycling experience? The one that you too have exact experiences in. You have the same passion. That's why you work in a bike shop. I like working on bikes. I like cool new stuff. I like going on the road, or like bombing down the trail. I like to go bike packing or whatever. It's still cycling. And that individual that's coming in should be a person within your family of community of cyclists going, yeah, I want to help you extend your journey. And that's what I'm here for, to help you extend your journey, your cycling journey. What does that journey entail? Let's say it. Freedom, clarity of mind, taking a break from reality, whatever, stress relieving, maybe getting better shape, maybe taking off a little weight on like myself, or just, all in sort of conference of having a good time and riding and seeing things and being outside and all those scenarios. And why am I bringing this up? Because there's a lot of riffraff going on within the industry, whole bunch of finger pointing, a lot of anger, this and that. This is something that, regardless if you're left, right, or center of any political spectrum, you should all still have the same sensibility of going, we're a cycling community. We like to ride bikes. Can it be that simple? Kinda is. I mean, kinda is. Yeah, we pay a lot of money, money for tools. We take a lot of time on training and so forth. Cycling in itself, as an industry, especially when you're looking at bike shop people working on bikes and trying to sell bikes and service and all that and providing, our technological advances on bikes and how tricky, however you want to look at it. Some people are like, they overcomplicated them. There's all a marketing ploy or whatever. Regardless of all that, and the e-bikes things and all that, you are asking upon an individual to learn how to work on a lot of stuff and be an expert at it for a very little wage, sometimes not even a livable wage, to do. And why are they there? Because they're passionate about cycling. That's the customer's perspective that should be basically giving, without a doubt, giving basically a forethought of this individual that's standing in front of you that's been elbows in grease, just bled some brakes, or did the tubeless tire and it blew up in their face, and they're like, why am I here? And that customer comes in and validates their passion for cycling. So as long as we can validate each other from customer to bike shop, owner to service manager to service employee to bike builder to somebody that commutes on a bike to races and all those things. We got to pull ourselves back and go, we're all here basically for the same thing, for the love of bikes. So I just wanted to bring that out, and perspective wise, because a lot of us lose track of that. Like, and some of us here, that I'm not sure in the chat, like, that's what I've been doing. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. But honestly, seeing some of the chats, and some of them did touch me. There was one that came up on my last video last night, and I was humbled by it, honestly. And as an individual, let me see if I can bear with me. I'm, bike mechanic, trying to not read off a teleprompter. But this individual, he's chiming in. He says, basically he's been in the bike industry for 25 years. He had a bike shop. He owns a bike shop. He had a large footprint at one point, downsized around 9/11 because we all had to shrink the footage and all that, which was a good move. He always sold used bikes. And it's one of those things, like, service has always been a thing, a revenue maker for them. They're in New England, and the folks are into, apparently the culture there is more in repairing bikes than it is to buying new. So that puts a lot of bike shops into a situation of doing a lot more service, even before all this has been going on, which a lot of shops have done service over the years too, and that's what they've been known for. And, definitely doesn't have a lot of inventory, and it's very concerning times. And simply, he wants to pay everything up front. Inventory, is owned, that kind of thing, doing all the right things. And he's basically learned that over the 25 years, it's the bike industry in his shop, he's learned that he needs to take out the stressful bits of it, like to make it a little bit easier for them, and to be able to focus on what they enjoy doing. What brought you into the cycling community? Going for those group rides. Now he did some adjustments to his business, and now he's able to go on those group rides on Sundays instead of doing bookkeeping and the housework of the shop and keep going. And hopefully, going through this off season, he could sustain and get through it. And basically, the last thing that he said, at any rate, I hope your off season goes well, and that leading up to 2026 is a good and beneficial for you. I mean, come on, people. Simple, right? Thoughtful. Basically, not hypocritical about your sound quality of video sucks, or your point of view is rambling, or whatever the case may be. It's basically, identify with you. This is what I've been going through with my challenges and my story, and I hope we all can get through this together. Bike shop, cyclists alike, right? So that's what kind of sparked this whole rant, if you want to will, of community and what keeps me up at night. Taking care of, I mean, come on. How many of you mechanics out there late at night, and you worked on something and it wasn't quite right? Like, it works, but it wasn't like what it should be. Like, it was like that itch you just can't scratch. And then all of a sudden it comes to you at 3 in the morning and you're like, damn, okay, maybe I'll try this. And you go to the shop and you either replace the cable or the housing or whatever they need to be done that I thought that may improve that from just functioning to being the best it can be. I mean, that's what goes through our heads to help those who ride to continue their ride, and they're passionate about it. And I've always, it's not just feeling the responsibility and I don't want to get this person hurt or whatever. That's there too, of course. But it's the extra step that a lot of us have put into, and it's not just me. And I know I'm not alone in this. And I have some friends that work at corporate stores, and more power to them. They're drinking the Kool-Aid and they're doing what they need to do. But at the end of the day, inside, they are still trying to help out every customer like they came from a mom and pop shop. I mean, and that's where there's not enough amount of training that a corporate store can beat into them to do that thing. It's a natural occurrence from those who enjoy cycling and basically take care of their cycling community. So there's individuals there, and there's also individuals that are just, there to make a buck and, don't really have a passion, or you're not cool because you don't ride the bikes like I ride, that kind of thing. That sheer ignorance. And we've all been there. I've been there. I was a dumb 20-year-old that was like, if you're not into mountain biking, whatever, you road weenie, go on, do your thing. But now since I'm like older, instead of 20 something, now I'm 50 something, and I'm like, hold on here. Hold on. I mean, there's a lot of great pieces of the cycling world, and I've experienced a lot of them through the phases of my life, from mountain bike aggressive riding to riding with the kids to riding for just my peace of mind. And back in the day when I learned how to ride, I'm surprised I had kids. That shifter 8-ball thing, and I don't know. That bike's probably worth 10 grand now because it's just a classic whatever Schwinn piece of whatever. But we have all have those experiences, and if we can resonate, and from customers to YouTube watchers that are into cycling, because hey, if you're watching this, you're some way into cycling. And I just wanted to bring it up to everybody's attention that, hey, you know what? We all love cycling. That's what it comes down to. And regardless of sound quality of my videos, or somebody says something mean in the chat and you get all bent out of shape, and whatever the case may be, is, did what what everybody's grandma's told them. You can't say anything nice. Don't say it at all. I mean, that just doesn't resonate to what you do in the bike shop or on YouTube chats or all that. So it's like all those things need to transform outside of that zone. And here's another point. It's like a lot of you have ridden on bike paths and trails and what have you. And you go, when you're riding, you're having a good experience and so forth. And some of us are on different levels. Some of us are riding an e-bike because we need that assist to get a little bit further ride or commuting. And then we have others that are out there just trying to get, riding with the kids, or you're out there for exercise, or you're training for a race or what have you. And I bet you there's a huge portion of us, cyclists or mechanics alike, or bike shop owners, or any part of your spectrum of the cycling community, when somebody's broken down on the side of the road, I think majority of us always stop for the most part and say, hey, you good? You need some help? Whatever. Because I fixed flats for people on the side of the road, or got their chain straightened out. And at least, I had one kid, he crashed. He was all shooken up and dusted him off and made sure his bike was, shifting again and good. And he was fine. He didn't need to go to the hospital or anything, but he's like, he had to take a moment. He's like, stood there for him a little bit and made sure he was okay. So that kind of cycling humanity, right, that we all experience, either we're giving it or receiving it, I feel like that needs to be expanded outside the bike path into your normal day life. You're at the grocery store, at the gas pump, driving on the street. I know road rage. There's road rage on bike paths too, but those kinds of things. I think if we can kind of extend that a little bit further, I think all that would help everybody out, be part of the problem, not be part of the problem, be part of the solution. So anyway, I don't want to be like chatting on a soapbox and that kind of thing, but I just like one of those deals that, you see a comment that touches you, moves you, and you're like, wait a second. It's not just me trying to make a buck fixing a bike. It's me trying to help somebody extend their joy of cycling.
And I'm not the first one to tote this. I'm sure enough will not be the last one, hopefully, to be able to say, hey, we're in this because we enjoy doing it. And hey, if I make a little bit of, of an income on it, that's great. But on the end of the day, though, that's the sole core and purpose coming from the bike shop that I came from. And translating those values to a new cultivated environment of a lot of you small shops out there that are listening in. You're going, whoa, we do need a reality check, or whatever the case may be. Because this is the end of the season, and why I bring this up at the end of the season, because most of us are burnt out. We've been cranking, and our excitement of the season was done like in June. And we're here today going, oh my God, I just need a break, or I need something easier to work on, or whatever. And I was able to just tell you, I was able to pace myself that I don't feel that way this fall. I still have plenty of work to do. And I was able to bring in what I needed to bring in. But I was able to do adjustments for me and for my shop. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, to enable for my sanity. And for doing it for so many years, this is something that you take a hard, long look. And if you're shop owners or managers, you might want to reevaluate, okay, well, how can we improve our culture? Because if you have a happier staff, if you have more relaxed, less stressed, there's stresses, there's drives, like you got to get 100 bikes built this week, whatever the case may be, but there's got to have some offset to that too. And if you can sprinkle that in your business, especially it's hard to do when you're in a smaller shop because you just want to go balls out the whole time because you're afraid that you're not going to be able to pay your bills the next month. But you need to be able to offset that somehow so you don't lose your mind and still enjoy what you're doing. And that will translate to better work, better quality work, and better craftsmanship in your niche that will enable you to actually, it'll feed itself. Like I have a lot of my customers, either they're repeating with their own bikes or they're just pounding the pavement for you. I can't pay Scott enough. This guy, he goes and he's almost dragging people off the street going, you need to have him work on your bike. Like almost too aggressively, Scott. But in any case, but it's great. It's like that's what you build up. And I'm at finally that kind of a sweet spot where mid-October, I'm doing great. I'm booked out through December. And I paced myself. And I do have open slots to help out the must needs real quick with my current customers, kind of like a doctor's emergency room kind of thing. But I'm able to adjust for that. See if you can adjust that for your own shop. See if you can adjust that for your own cycling community. Make sure if you're going into the shops, you're not putting too much stress. Try to set it up success for both parties. Like for the consumer as well as, I know it's hard because we're so used to the Amazon world, like I want it like this afternoon kind of thing. But this is not, like for bike services for specifically, that's not a tangible item like you're getting a bowling ball being shipped to you like my daughters, who are going to get it drilled later today. But for bike repair, if you want the best quality stuff done to your bike and taken care of, you may want to vet those bike mechanics that are a little bit further out in time to have them that done because they're usually good and they're going to have that quality. And if you're a shop that's trying to push the 24-hour thing, is it really working for you? Is it really working for your community? Is it really working for those bikes, that come in and get serviced and get pushed out? Because I can tell you, being a service mechanic, production mechanic, like cranking tune-ups out really fast, that was not my best work at all. It got the job done. And a lot of times it didn't come back. I was very, successful at that part of it. But was it the high quality that I could have done? By far, no. So how you want to treat your community, that, price may need to reflect that for service work. And this is the time of year you got to reevaluate all those things. And also consumers definitely expect not just a jump on price on parts as well as labor. Labor is the most important part that needs to go up, because we already are working on unlivable wages for the most part for a lot of shops. So those prices need to go up to kind of retain, or not kind of, will need to retain and make it feasible to keep those individuals that know what the hell they're doing, working on bikes, working and passionate, and still keep passionate and working on those bikes going forward. I know that sounds like a huge soapbox piece, but it's full circle. It's like one of those things that I'm very humbled what I'm doing, and I'm loving to share that. And I hope you guys are getting, I mean, obviously you're getting a kick out of it, because, you know, some of you are still watching at this point. And I've been around for a long time, and I've seen a lot of choke points in shops and also other businesses. This doesn't have to relate to just specific biking or cycling. It's a lot of different businesses out there that do that. But in any case, that's me and what I've been doing, and success is what I've seen so far. And, you know, as John put it in the last video that I launched, it's like, you got an ironclad business model going on. That didn't come easily. It was kind of a lot of it by luck. A lot of it's by luck, but also through the experiences of what I'm doing. It's like, I could have opened up a shop 2 years ago and got a building and did the whole thing. And I stopped myself, because like, Justin, you're too damn old to do dumb stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get on that full suspension downhill bike and go bombing down the hill, because you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna end up in the ER. In the business, you're gonna end up bankrupt. So, hey, pick your lane, you know? So, you know, it's kind of crazy that obviously I'm just standing here talking to myself on a camera that you guys are just watching, but I hope, and I feel like I've been able to help my community locally as well as internationally. It's just amazing that some of you are listening or chiming in from out of our borders. And then that concludes to my final thought of laying awake at 2 o'clock in the morning going, cycling does not have borders. It's such a cool thing. I mean, I learned how to ride a bike in the States is no different than somebody riding a bike in Argentina or Spain or even in Russia. I mean, it's like, they all learned how to ride a bike. It's 2 wheels, and you got to balance, and pray you don't crash, you know, and you're going to crash. And that's the kind of lesson in life, right? It's like, well, you dust yourself off, and hopefully you don't have to go to the ER, you clean up the blood, and you just get back on it and go. And that has no borders to it. We all learned how to ride bikes, and we're all passionate about it. And this is one thing, you know, really kind of, you know, made me smile when I thought about it. It's like, if you took 100 individuals, all types of cycling or whatever, you put them on a group ride, but they all speak different languages. Not a one of them spoke the other languages. They're all in it, and like 100 people with 100 different languages. I don't know if there's 100 different languages out there to use, but for example, 100 different people, 100 different languages, they all go for a group ride. I think the communication by hand signaling and smiling and patting on the back and getting to your destination, sharing a cup of coffee at the end or whatever, everybody would have had a great time. The language is cycling. Crazy thought, huh? In any case, so yeah, I have like on the Instagram, I have like a whole bunch of people from Colombia, and I didn't realize that was huge of a cycling community, like racers and this and that and the other. Maybe they're just influencer channels or whatever, and like we get a bike and just show it off, what have you. But that's just not that specific. It's like all around the world. And that just kind of like blows my mind. I mean, coming from a small town, you know, narrow thinking of the 70s, and now to where we are, I'm in a international industry. And some of the people who are working on the same type of bikes around the world have some of the same frustrations and some successes at the same time. And it basically comes down to the joy of cycling. And I know it sounds kind of corny, it sounds kind of goofy, but what it really does come down to is like, hey, you remember when you learned how to ride a bike, right? And what kind of freedoms it gave you? That's what, you know, it really touches me when I'm able to get somebody on a bike that hasn't ridden for a while, or bring something, or has been riding a lot, and then you just do a fantastic job. We're able to, because there's limitations we got to work with, but you're able to take something and make something immaculate. And they go for that ride and they're like, wow, like the shifts and stops and it feels great. And my experience is just awesome. It could have been the day. It could have been a nice 80-degree weather day, no tailwind all day or whatever, but that experience is moved them to be a better person, or less stressed or whatever. You know, it's like all those things. So we're part of an intricate spoke of that wheel of helping other people either enjoy life of cycling or helping their life through cycling. So there's a lot of beneficial factors of just the health portion of it, mental health portion of it, and we do definitely need to give respect for those who work in industry as well as those who do ride and organize those rides and organize those charity events and all those things. It's a huge thing. And a lot of us get kind of stuck in this, like, that one bike shop pissed me off. Never going to go over there again. They're going to do all my own work. You know, like, you're missing the point. You know, it's like, yeah, you maybe got angered. Maybe you got Phil ripped off or whatever the case may be. But, you know, that individual, you know, that shop, I mean, maybe caught him on the wrong day or whatever, and you don't have to go back to that one shop. Maybe they are just a bad shop. Maybe, you know, but don't blame all the shops. Like, there's a lot more good shops than there is bad, especially coming forward here. A lot of the bad shops, there's not going to be enough customers to support them. They're going to shake out. Guarantee you that. And the flip side on that too, they're not all bad customers. I mean, there's some that are squirrely. We all have had them. But at the end of the day, though, if you do your best, do what you can. I've turned around some very squirrely customers in my day, and it, you know, it's challenging, and you got to have a good knack at it. But realistically, some of those squirrely customers, there's some weird intent behind it, and you get to the root cause of it pretty quickly. It's, you know, and then all of a sudden they're your best customers ever. Sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes. Or that first impression is like, oh my God, this guy's like, woof. It's like, where are they coming at? But you know, everybody has their own anticipation and judgments and all that. But when it comes to cycling, it should be pretty, you know, a good cycling thing, you know, family thing kind of deal. It's like, and you know, there's a lot of been judgmental of different bikes and different brands and what they do and all that. And it's like, oh my God, there's so many things that have come to light lately. And when you look at the humane conditions of the bikes, how they're being made, and who's working on them, who's building them up, are they living like 20 to a room? You know, those kind. It's like, it's eye opener. It's a lot to take in on top of everything else that we're trying to navigate and so forth. But I just want to bring out a couple bullet points a week, just like these are the things that I've been seeing. This is how I think it's maybe affecting us, either in the bike shop or industry or consumer alike. Hope you enjoy those particular perspectives of it. And I just hope, you know, a lot of you can just, you know, take a beat, you know, take a pulse and go, hey, you know, regardless of how you feel about another channel, how you feel about somebody else's thoughts on riding, that high-end weenie bike is dumb, you know, maybe not. I mean, I do have opinions on some newer stuff, and of course I do. I've been around long enough, and it is my, you know, is it valid? Some, maybe, but that's my opinion, and you know, it's okay. We can talk about it. It's great. You know, it might be a benefit for some others, and then we've seen the industry do their whole thing, and so there's. But when you look at even the heads of the big brands like Trek, Specialized, and various other companies, you know, they're not money-grubbing, spiteful individuals. I mean, yeah, they want to make a profit. They want their business to thrive and so forth and gain, of course. But under all that layer is the love for cycling. Has to be, because they want to be doing it. There's other ways to make money. So don't be such a hater on some of these companies. I mean, they've done some dumb things, yeah, and some of them fess up to it, sure. But you know, at the end of the day, they are still producing bikes for us to ride. And even if you may not getting the new stuff, and you might be just getting the used stuff, some of the used stuff is, you know, held up enough for us to work on, and then you can still continue that ride and still upcycle those bikes. I mean, that's where my whole business's premise is built off of, is fixing up and refurbishing classic or older road bikes. And a lot of them I've had huge successes, and they hold up. And when you have like a guy like Kirk put over 10,000 miles on a used bike, a carbon used bike. I mean, a lot of people are like naysaying a carbon, like on a carbon used bike that, you know, and he's still riding it and loves it, and a big smile on his face. And I've tuned it up like 3 or 4 times for him, and it's holding up. So I mean, you know, a lot of these companies, they built bikes to last at a serious point. You know, they took a wrong turn down the road. But that's why I'm kind of, you know, if anything, I would ask for bike building manufacturers, like, get bikes to be sustainable longer. Just don't think about that first time user owner of the bike. Think about the third or fourth, because honestly, and this is a funny perspective, and I mentioned this before, it's like for those brands, the Trek Specialized, Giant, whatever brand you are, if you have that brand that holds up, and it holds up as a used bike, maybe more than one person owning it, put it in my window. My viewpoint is, I get somebody on let's say a Trek bike that I had like a 5200, or that Le Mans, which you know, he was making Le Mans of different ones, but actually we need to stick with a Trek. That Trek bike, right? And they bought that used Trek bike, and they went and had a great time on that, because I tuned it up, fitted it to them. They had a great experience on it. I bet you, when they're ready to buy a new bike, if they're ever ready to buy a new bike, if they're ready to buy a new bike, what brand do you think they're going to want to look at first? It's probably the bike that I put them on initially when it was used. That held up for them. They had a great experience. Case in point, got a couple that's not bought any bikes from me, but I do their service work. And they are on their 4th round of new Trek bikes in the last, or 4th round of new bikes in the last 4 years. They just haven't really found the style that they want yet. Like, they had some road bikes, and they're like, don't like it too much. They modified it. I'm like, no, they had me sell them. All right. They got some e-bikes. The brand wasn't really all that great for them. They didn't like that. So guess what? They had Treks. They went back to Trek and got some new Trek mountain bikes. Didn't realize they were going to get into that kind of riding. They got some nice hybrid bikes. I mean, nice. I mean, carbon FX, carbon hybrid bikes. Now, they're having me sell those because they got themselves some nice gravel bikes. So landed on that, gravel e-bike. So I think they found their perfect niche. I don't know if they're done yet, but my point is they started off at some point with a used Trek bike, and now they swayed it from Trek, but they went back, and now they're on their 3rd Trek bike, new. So, you know, that's one of those things. In any case, whew. Didn't get through that without crying. Got all choked up there for a moment. That's how much passion I am about it. I mean, it brings me back to my dad taught me a lot of this bike stuff. I mean, side by side for over a decade. We worked together, working on bikes, and he's passed. It's been about 20 years ago. He passed away, but still with me today. Where's my water? Choking up. Yeah, he's with me today. I mean, working on bikes. Remembering the stuff that he taught me, and stuff I wish I would have been able to teach him. That's one of the best things as a parent, when your kids actually teach you something. It's kind of cool. Like, in case in point, my daughter taught me how to do shorts through the app. I'm like, how are you doing that? And they're like, she showed me. I'm like, God damn. She's 9, you know? It's like, oh, okay. All right. So, you know, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's all fun. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Oh man, that 2 hours went pretty quick. Still didn't get to any like questions. Let me double check. I do have a couple technical. I think I'm gonna have to do technical question videos. So I had somebody ask about, Connex chains and how the links work, especially when they're waxed. Oh, fly, I'm about to kill them. Had somebody had an interesting one. It was like one of those Suntour. Suntour has been a company that's been around for a long time. They still make shocks and seat posts for a lot of OEM bikes and so forth. But they don't have, in the States, they really don't have a great customer support portal. In other words, if you need parts or something to fix something, it's like mass production kind of stuff. At a seat, somebody bought a seat post, or they had a seat post from Suntour on one of their e-bikes and it failed, and I'm like, most likely you just have to buy a new one. But then again, the prices on them, I mean, the replacement was like $100. I mean, that does kind of sound high for a seat post, but it's a suspension one. But when you think about it though, the parts and something like that is going to cost you like $40, so you're already halfway there. So you might as well just buy another one and keep the old one as for parts, that kind of thing. So that's, it is one of those weird parts. And unfortunately, there is a lot of parts manufacturers and bikes out there that are just kind of volume, and they don't anticipate you coming back for working on it, or the portals are not there, or it's really hard. But there's not that all the case. Some companies will take care of you. Shimano's taken care of me over the years, most part, for part warranties and so forth. SRAM was very amazingly bent over backwards, for a service manager perspective. I had one case where I had a shifter or derailleur was bad or something like that, and it was out of its warranty spectrum. But I called SRAMs mainly to figure out what was a good replacement within their line to replace that with. And they're like, oh, they must have had a problem with that particular batch or something. It's like, oh, we'll send you a new derailleur and some parts to go with it to update it. And they're like, you sure it's out of the warranty? It's like, no, yeah, it's fine. We'll send it to you. It should be there in 2 days. I'm like, oh, wow, bent over backwards. So it's like, and when I told the customer that, they gave them like a vote of confidence, which really loops back to that whole carbon wheel thing, that you have companies stepping up and taking care of warranties and issues. That's a huge thing. But yeah, some of these I'm going to have to like do anyway. In any case, let's look at who's still in the chat. We got David. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for the kind words. I try. And as we all try. We all try. Oh, a chain can make a Ricky ride. Yes, Scott. Well, you're only as strong as the weakest link. That's where that came from. It's us cycling. I'm pretty sure. For sure. Mark Ella, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be adapting and changing. Yeah, we are all in that. I mean, that I did catch you, damn it. Even in my business, I mean, even when I started this, I had 30 years of experience, and this business has changed like so much in the last 5 years. Not that I even would have thought it would go this direction at all whatsoever. But here we are. But I'm still here and still doing some stuff that I did initially. But it's expanded or shifted, and a lot of bike shops are going to be doing that. And good for you to identify what those changes need to be done. And some of it's like you may not want to like reluctant. Like I want to carry the nice shiny new stuff. I'm like, well, nobody's buying it, so you can't. So, it's like you put in timeout. It's like, but don't be sad. It'll be okay, because at some point you'll be able to sell that stuff again. But right now, you're still commuting. You're still contributing to the cycling experience. And for riding or whatever that may be. So however you're shifting your business, you should embrace it, because that enables you to keep going. When you run out all those levers and there's nothing left and you have to close your doors, that's what really hurts. But if you still have opportunities to able to help your cycling community, and sometimes it's a hard look. It's a big grain of, take it with a grain of salt, and you have to do some adjustments and maybe change some personality or personalities in your team. Because some people just will not change. And like I said, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And your weakest link is somebody that's just, alienating people of what they ride or whatever. They need a strong talking to, or that's your shop is not where they need to be. They can go find somewhere else to alienate, that kind of thing. The funny thing of working in a corporate setting, there's a lot of Kool-Aid and all policies and procedures. Oh my God, there's so many policies and procedures. So much training on loss and prevention and harassment and all that stuff. But I mean, your shop is regularly based. I mean, I had like over 20 employees underneath me that I was responsible for. I didn't say I'm like have to take care of them or keep them in line. It's like I was responsible for them, and I looked at looked at them as individuals, and I validated that as much as I could, and hopefully I didn't alienate them. I'm sure somebody will say something, but I'm not perfect. But I try to do my best, and with those individuals, I mean, through that corporate training, it's kind of like you're always hiring. You're always hiring for someone better. It's like, oh. So and some people won't get better, or they're not passionate, or whatever the case may be. I mean, some people just don't want to improve, and you got to look at your staff and go, what is the best people I want to represent my shop, my image of a shop, my perspective, and are you communicating that in a positive and great way to your staff to present that, and not just like, you need to sell more bikes. You're not, you need to add, you didn't do your 2.5 UPTs, like units per transactions, you got to have like over 2, or you're going to be written up, I mean, there's all those things in business that they try to, but unfortunately, business and bike shop community, you gotta make it your own. You can't go by the UPTs or turns and all that all the time. Granted, there are benchmarks, but something that you shouldn't make your staff rely on. My staff completely flipped their wig when I did production hour time. This is like 2001. I'm like, oh yeah, we're just doing how much you do per day, just get a pulse. And man, they were like, are you watching me? Like, they just felt constrained. I was trying to figure out what the baseline is. What should we expect to get out of our departments? Not necessarily that you, the individual, are slow, or not great. I mean, there's variables of mechanics, of course, but I was just trying to do an assessment, and man, that flew over like man, they were pissed at me. Some of them are still pissed at me. It was like, yeah, I was trying to put data analytics on what they were doing, and it's like, needed to be a little more suave about it, I guess. Not told them anything, because I was, trying to hourly rate, and I was just trying to figure out X amount during certain volumes warrants this much. So I can go to the owner and go, and we all needed raises. But they took it the other way. So it was kind of it was a hot heated moment there for a minute. And I was younger, so I was not very tactful. I was more just, oh, okay. Any case, it's lunchtime. My neck of the woods. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. Hit the like and subscribe if you like content like this. I won't be so emotional next time. I'll talk about more cool stuff. Have a nice spot I'm be working on later today. Just finished Scott's light speed. He had a bolt that popped off. I had a titanium bolt for you. I got one in there. What else was there? Yeah, I got a whole bunch of I mean, I'm busy. It's good. I mean, I'm very humble. Let's put it that way, of what I'm doing, and I'm humble of going into October and how busy I am. And I'm also very humble for you individuals there watching and listening of the old guy in the garage doing his thing. And yeah, I'm looking for, bring on some more characters. Bring more insights to companies, local companies, small companies, big companies alike. Shine a light, if I can, on stories and so forth, because there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, honestly, I see other content, channels and platforms are like, well, if you have a hard time trying to come up with content, and I'm like, that sentence is not in my vocabulary whatsoever. There is so much that we can just dive into in the bike shop. And there's so much. There could be another 100 of me's out there doing almost the same thing, and we would all be fine, because there's so much that could be brought to light. And there's some individuals that take apart XT derailleurs or XTR derailleurs to the springs and put it back together. And then you have individuals that talk about. There's so many, and there are already so many, but there's not crowded whatsoever. There's so much more that could be talked about, brought to attention, especially when we get older. There's more bikes that are sustained, that last longer, and there could be insights of how to adjust certain derailleurs, insights of watch out for certain parts on bikes that may have failed at the time of new. All of those things could be brought to light. So there's opportunities for all that to be brought out, and those are in bike shops that are thinking about expanding their YouTube or starting YouTube and that kind of thing. And it's not for everybody. Not a lot of people like to stand up and talk to themselves in a room for a couple hours, or shoot videos or edit and all that stuff. It is a big lift. It is, honestly. But at the end of the day, for me, it's been so rewarding. I don't mind that extra work, and it's not really taxing on me, mentally for that. So I don't mind doing it. But if you find yourself that you might be a character that needs to bring the light of BMX bikes or single speeds or, God forbid, tri-bikes, just kidding. There's a niche for you, and there's a channel spot, and more happy. And I'd be more than happy to help you with your journey in the sense of, co-collaborate. Like, hey, check out what they're doing. This is kind of cool. Not one thing I'll ever do myself, but hey, it's a part of the whole cycling, like full circle to the cycling community. It's so vast, it's insane. So there's a lot of room for all of us. So in any case, well then again, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. It's beautiful in your neck of the woods. Please go for a ride, and if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Oh, and you can share it too. I mean, if you're like, I want to share this on Facebook or whatever else, just take that shareable link and plaster it everywhere. It's fine. Or if you're, with your cycling groups or your shop or what have you. Hopefully we all got something out of it. I know I did. And again, thanks for hanging out. Eventually, I just need to open up the garage. The flies need to fly out. I'll put a stake out in the driveway or something. In any case, thanks again for hanging out with me. Hope you have a wonderful week. And again, if it's Tuesday, Shop Talk Tuesday. I'm just going to go through some of these. Boy, you guys are really chatty today. Great. Some of these are awesome. Come on, can we